As I speak, I have an agent improving an agent that is used to evaluate my agent, my application level agent. And the worst part is, I'm not joking. This is actually happening. And by the end of this video, you'll understand what I'm talking about. My name's Anthony. I've been working in the AI space since ChatGPT was just a tiny, teeny, weeny transformer. And like I said, I'm going to go over the different types of agentic loops that I've been using. And actually, as I go through the different types, each one will get a little bit more complicated. And so bear with me. It's going to be fun, right? So just kind of level setting what the problem is. Coding agents are getting really, really good. And when I say really, really good, I mean, don't listen to anybody that you know that says they don't use coding agents to code. They're either liars, they're Andrew Kaparthy, which him I believe, or they just don't understand how to use them. And as they're getting better and better, we are more and more becoming the bottleneck to shipping productive, useful, valuable code. And so I'm going to go over the different types of coding loops that you can have, or agent loops, starting off with the coding loop. So I'm sure you've done this before. If you haven't automated this, you've at least done this in a manual fashion where you were just overseeing the loop taking place. This is the majority of what vibe coders do, just with less structure, which is bad, and I'll tell you how to fix that in a second. So essentially, a coding loop is you have a problem, you have a file that you need to write, a client or a piece of a parser, some set of code that you need to write, an algorithm, and you have an agent, you have Cursor do it, and then afterwards you evaluate the whether it worked or whether it didn't work, and then you just kind of you keep pressing continue. Now, if you're a good engineer, you review the code, but I'm sure a lot of people that are vibe coding, which is nothing wrong with that, you just press continue, and then you keep going on. Now, this is obviously not an automated loop because you are right there overseeing all the code. The easiest way to fix this, and how you fix it for all cases of like coding loops, is you have the thing that you're trying to test for as a unit test. And so you have unit test or integration test. Once you have a very solid foundation of test, you can let agents just go loose on your code base, and you don't have to sleep, worried at night that they're going to ship some code that's really bad. One, you should review it either way. But two, you know that everything you're pushing is thoroughly tested. And if you need help writing the test, just ask Cursor to do it. Am I right? So number two is an agentic coding loop. This is a lot more interesting because it helps you actually improve agents within your code base. So just to get very concrete, I'm sure if you're watching this and you're interested in AI at all, you have some LLM inside your application that has a set of tools. Maybe you're using LangChain, maybe you're using Versal AI, maybe you're using the Claude Code SDK, or I guess Claude Agent SDK now, or OpenAI SDK. You have some agent in your code base, and you're running it, and it's outputting some sort of artifact that is good for the user, or creating some user experience that's good for the user. Now, what you probably did when you first started was you vibe tested it, and you said, wow, this is pretty cool. I'm going to ship this, and this is going to be an awesome product. But as time goes on, and you actually want to keep squeezing out performance of the models in terms of the prompts, in terms of the context you should be injecting, which versions of the models, how long should they be thinking, what should you do to what are different tweaks you can do in terms of trimming down context size while keeping the same efficiency in terms of intelligence or perceived intelligence. There's so much you can do there. And if you're constantly vibe testing it, you're going to fall behind. And so I'm sure if you've been around in the space enough, you've heard the word evals, and that's where this comes in. In order to actually have a controlled loop for an agentic coding loop, you need evals. And that way you can run your agentic workflow, have your evaluations or run your evaluations in your evaluations. If you're not familiar, they're basically you running your agent. It produces output artifact. You then have different LLMs, some call them LLMs, judge the actual output of those runs according to some criteria, and based off of that, you know if you've improved or you've gotten worse. Now, I'm sure what you're thinking, or at least I thought this at first, is, well, if you're just using an LLM to judge the LLM, what good is that? And the truth is, actually, it is it is good, because it's a lot better than you doing a vibe test of the output. And you can also, of course, have deterministic test, and this, like I said, builds on top of the previous type, which is a coding loop. And so evals are your friend. You could use brain trust. You can use prompt layer, prompt flow, post hog. I like brain trust, but that's just because I've used it the most. And the loop is, you have an agent like Claude Code, Codex, run the evals, brain trust even has an MCP server to get the results of the experiment, but you can also just write a script that gives Claude Code the experiment, or your local agent the experiment. You then have it, based off the evals, tweak some things in the prompts or the context, then rerun the evals and repeat. And because it's a closed loop, you can rely, as long as your evals are good, you can rely on those scores going up for your agent to just keep churning out better and better results. At the end, you'll have a PR that has updated prompts, potentially new injections of context in different places, and your eval scores will be higher. Now, that was the agentic coding loop. My favorite is a meta coding agentic loop. This is actually what I'm doing right now. So, like I said at the very beginning of this video, I have an agent right now that's running through my application and testing an agentic workflow I have. So this is step one, an agentic coding loop. However, I want to make that agent that's running through that workflow faster. I want to make it use less tokens. I want to make sure it does better evaluations on my agent. And so in order to do that, you'll typically use, because this isn't within your code, you're going to use some sort of like skill.md. I'm using Claude Code subagents because it's great, and I'm really liking that right now. But the loop goes, I have Claude Code run a subagent. That subagent runs through and produces a set of logs. I then have Claude Code look through the trace of those logs, evaluate any inefficiencies, i.e. Where there are wasted turns, wasted tool calls, what context is missing, what additional tools could we give it, and then we have it tweak the prompt and then continue. It's very similar to the agentic coding loop. The only difference is this is sitting outside of your code base. And for example, I don't have a strict set of evals using like brain trust or something for this meta coding agent loop. However, I have a set of heuristics that I'm using. So these are like deterministic checks, i.e. what's the amount of tool calls it has, and so on and so forth. And as long as my evals don't go down due to my agent loop, I'll know this is doing its job. And there you go. Those are the different types of loops I've been working with. If you got any value out of this video, I'm glad, because these agent loops have been a nice framework for thinking about how I'm going to approach a problem, especially as you get more and more higher in the stack of an agent running an agent running an agent, and kind of seeing where to actually put some controls. Yeah. Until next time, see you later.